Hey YouTube, I'm going to give you 5 tips for transporting a dog by bicycle. Basically, I've got the trailer behind me. This is one of 4 options. You can either have a front basket, a back basket, a backpack, or this trailer. The worst one I would say is the front basket because the number one injury you can get while riding in your bike is car doors opening, in my opinion, or cars pulling out suddenly and all the impact comes from the front. So I definitely wouldn't get the front basket. The back basket looks a little bit too small for me, depending on the size of your dog. The backpack is nice, but if you fall off the bike, the dog's going to get crushed. So for me, the only way I would do it is with a trailer, like the one behind. This is from Vida XL. It's a Dutch drop shipping company. Basically, it's the cheapest one. You can get it from Amazon or Temu. I've put the link below. It's about 80 to 90 euros, which is really cheap. Okay, so the first main tip I want to give you is if you have kids, you cannot use this for kids. Now, I've done a separate set of videos all about transporting kids. I thought I was done with trailers and follow me's, but now I've got a dog, so I have to go through it again. You can't put kids in it. Why? Because it doesn't have a back. So if your kids are up to 3 years old, they wouldn't have the stability and they will roll around behind, which is unsafe for them. Whereas the dog can move around a bit and can have a bit more rough and tumble. But the kid trailers have a back in them with straps to keep them safe. The dog ones don't. So you can't use this for your kids, but you could use a kid one for your dog and you wouldn't have to strap them in. Tip number 2, go as big as you can, get the biggest size. One of the reasons is you may get another dog. You may really love the dog and want to get another one. Another reason is there's a lot of accessories you're going to need. So you can see I put this kind of soft blanket inside to keep him nice and comfortable. You can put the water bowl in there with a bottle of water. You can add his food, you can add his toys, all these sorts of things, you know? So it needs to be bigger to have all the accessories. Also, the visibility is a bit better. If it's a very small trailer, if you have to go on the roads, which I wouldn't really recommend, then they can't see the smaller ones easily. So these bigger ones are better. I'd get the brightest color possible. You can see the flag at the back. You see that flag just up there? This is if you have to go on a road. You model it. So you have these flaps on the front and back, along with a plastic cover as well if it's raining. My third tip is to have a really old bicycle to connect it to. So, and I usually prefer a woman's bike. So this is a very old Granville, it's a Belgian make, woman's bike. And also it's good if you have the lock over the back wheel. So basically you can use this for taking the dog to the park, to the shops, things like that. You can lock the back wheel easily. If the bike gets damaged, it's no big deal. You don't want a fancy bike. The reason I prefer the woman's bike is that they are easier to step over. If you have a man's bike with the high top bar, you have to swing your leg over. Maybe difficult if you've got the trailer as well. My next tip is to be extremely careful with this fabric. And on the last video I made with the kids version of this, someone flicked a cigarette and it burnt straight through. Now with this one, what I noticed is when I tilt it backwards, so I put it vertically to make space in my very small garage, the fabric gets dirty and it even starts to get worn away. So it's incredibly thin. And I don't think it's because it's the cheapest one. I think all of them just use this cheap nylon, polyester, whatever, man-made material. So you need to be very careful with that. You may even want to put some tape on certain parts where the frame underneath touches the fabric. It just gets worn away very quickly if it hits concrete or you're tilting it and it's rubbing on the cement. A couple of final tips. You need to go around when you're doing the assembly and tighten all of these reflectors. Yeah, it's made in China, so these are not properly put on. So you need to go through with a spanner and somehow tighten the screws, tighten the nut on the end of the screw so that they're all, otherwise they're just going to fall off and people will chase you. So, hey, you dropped this. It's a bit embarrassing. The assembly time is around 45 minutes. It's not that hard, but you need space. So make sure your dog's not there. There's lots of little screws and nuts and pieces. So if you've got kids or a dog, make sure you put them away in a different room or part of the house when you assemble it. Last thing about this flag, it's only for traffic. I wouldn't really go into traffic, to be honest, with one of these. You want to be going along bike paths or very calm roads. The traffic in Belgium is terrible. The drivers are really aggressive. There's always this tiny chance that the dog could get free, depending on how active your dog is. So you have 2 layers. On the front, you have this zip compartment with a mesh to let the air in. And then if it's raining, you have the plastic cover. What I noticed is my dog Chester really managed to open it once, and I'm not sure how. He was kind of, you see here, if the zips aren't all the way at the top corner, don't bite me, they can like paw at it and put their pressure there and start to make a hole and open it. So if you're in traffic and something terrible like that happens, it's going to be really bad. So you need to make sure it's really firmly closed. Don't eat the microphone. Go along calm routes without a lot of traffic. Make sure, try and get this jammed up in the corner to stop the dog breaking free. Overall, I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. It was cheap, just under €100. I could fit 2 dogs in there if I wanted with all the accessories. Vida XL is okay. So I hope that's useful. If you've got any questions, if you've got this product yourself, tell us what you thought. We'll stick it in the comments below.